Hi, my name is Matthew Cox. I'm a realtor here in Central Phoenix, and I wanted to go over this concept called house hopping. House hopping is a wealth building strategy that empowers the middle class with this loophole, real estate loophole, and it is a way for the middle class to make money every single month without a second job. And last but not least, it's a way to empower the middle class to use this wealth building strategy called leverage. And we're going to go over a lot more than just these three bullet points, but these are the key things that I'm going to show you why house hopping needs to be part of your wealth building strategy. So let's dive right into it. One of the mottos of my business, or the motto of my business, is this: we thrive in life by winning at home. And it's evident, right? Mental health is far better when people feel safe and they have a home. They're academically speaking, children perform better when they feel safe and they have a home. And not to mention, the financial gap between people who own homes and people who don't own homes is pretty glaring. Now, of course, there's lots of other socioeconomic factors, but when you sum it down to people who invest in themselves, that's where the concept of we thrive in life by winning at home is that the more that you invest in yourself, the more you're going to thrive in life. And one of the ways to invest in yourself is to create a home for your soul. Okay. And that's the concept that I really believe in. You thrive in life by winning at home. Not to mention, my wife eloquently created this article on Medium called, actually, but the thing that's about it is this concept called process art, okay? And it's a story about her and my son basically growing, starting a little garden. And things don't necessarily go to plan, but there is a unique surprise in this whole entire process is that our son ended up growing a little sunflower. And even though some of the vegetables and fruits didn't go to plan, the fact that this one little sunflower grew during this time gave him so much fulfillment and joy. And when my wife saw that, hey, they created a little I love you ritual and that they are in this process of creating and growing something, that's where something unique happened. Is that my son and my wife were learning how to create and grow things. And yes, there is a struggle in learning how to grow and create things. But at the end of the day, like any other skill, the more you do it, eventually they're going to be able to learn and grow a full-on garden to feed our family. And even though the first season may not have gone to plan, the reality is that there's this concept, okay, called process art, where people, this is the environment, the safe environment where humans are able to create and thrive and grow and express. And what better place than the safety of home? Another form of process art that's really unique, made famous by this concept called garage band, right? Think how many musicians are creating art at home in a garage. Think about how, Bill Gates started Microsoft inside of a garage. Like, right, the concept of, some venture capital company or some other technology is being invented right now in someone's home. And it's really true, right? So why is that happening? Is because the human expression needs a safe place to grow, and what better place than home? So it's very obvious that we thrive in life by winning at home. Now we're going to dive into the financial aspects of this as well. So there is a new recipe of life, okay? Me being a millennial, all right, my grandparents were children of the Great Depression. And what does that mean? Well, that really impacts the way that we look at finances. How? Well, it's this simple. Unemployment was so high, right, that people who had jobs were financially secure in relationship with people who didn't have jobs, and their well-being was absolutely glaring, right? So now my parents and everyone else was basically thinking that, hey, listen, go to school, get a really good job, right? Get a high paying job, put as much money into a 401k, and you're going to live safely and securely throughout your life. Well, now, in this era, in this economy, it's obvious that that isn't necessarily the best way for people to build wealth. And college is proving time and time again that it might actually be an obsolete way to obtain a high value skill. So when we look at this, what is this new recipe to life? Well, we got to simplify the term investing. And investing was really demystified by this author named Robert Kiyosaki. And I know a lot of people may think that some of his writings may be elementary or whatever, but the reality is that he puts things in a very simple way that I really appreciate, especially a guy who is in special ed like me. So when you look at his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, one of the things that's amazing is how he simplifies the concept of investing. And essentially, investing is this: it is the principle in which we accumulate as many assets as possible and eliminate as many liabilities as possible. Well, then we have to define what is an asset and what is a liability. And an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. So, in other words, it's really important for us to learn what an asset is and what a liability is, because the better you get at classifying what assets and liabilities are, the better you're going to get at investing. And that, in my opinion, is the simplest way to determine whether, hey, is going to college worth it? Is buying this thing or that thing worth it or not? Is it a liability or is it an asset? And once you realize, you look at finances through this lens, you're going to be a lot better off in the future. Okay, so now that we know that this is the new recipe for life, right? Not going to college and not necessarily going to college, getting a high and paid job, put money in 401k, that's not necessarily financial security anymore, because job security is not always financial security. So now we have to look at new ways to invest and new ways to create money for ourselves and cash flow for our family. So now, what we want to go over this concept of leverage. Okay, now that we know that are things that put money in your pocket, leverage, okay, is the difference maker. Leverage is the principle, okay, of using debt to purchase assets. And as we know, assets are things that put money in your pocket every single month. So leverage is the principle of using debt to purchase asset. And this is important. The middle class does not have a lot of money sitting in their bank accounts. Okay, that's just the way that life is for us. So that being said, one of the things that's really important is to use leverage correctly. And guess what? There is bad debt and there is great debt. And we are going to show you why it's so important to learn the difference between assets and liabilities. As you can see, here's bad debt. Here's what happens when you use debt to purchase liabilities. All of a sudden, your credit card debt is going up and your savings rate is going down because you're paying this interest and you're paying too much on things that are not putting money in your pocket every single month. So, this is a perfect example of using debt incorrectly. Using debt to buy liabilities is one of the ways that we are not better off. Now, let's go over great debt. I don't call it good debt, I call it great debt, okay? And here is an example of great debt. We can see here, this is where we can see the financial fruits of, hey, what does it mean to thrive in life by winning at home? Here is a chart, okay, where the middle class, aka owner occupied real estate, makes up $43 trillion of equity. Of that, you see approximately 30%. So basically, a little bit above, a little around 15 trillion dollars of debt versus $43 trillion of equity. So you could see that middle class Americans who own real estate are better off, especially in inflationary times, right? You could see the chart just completely take off in 2020, 2021, and 2022. And what's astonishing is how here we are, even in uncertain times, we're seeing how the middle class is thriving by using debt to purchase assets. I mean, this chart is amazing. When you looked at the other one, right, the credit card, you see the liabilities completely bankrupting a whole subset of middle class Americans. And then you see real estate, those subset of middle class Americans who own real estate, they are thriving. And this is what this whole concept of house hopping is meant to do. It's supposed to empower us to use leverage to buy income generating real estate. And that's what we're going to go over next. Okay. So remember, there is a such thing as good debt and there is a such thing as great debt. Great debt uses uses leverage, aka debt, mortgages, to purchase income generating assets, real estate. Now, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about one specific asset class. Okay, so remember, assets are things that put money in your pocket. And I call it the only asset you will need. The reason why I call it only the asset you'll ever need is because no matter what, as long as you have a pulse, you're going to need a place to live. And everyone also needs income. So, what we're going to do is this: there's the middle class, okay, has access using this loan called the FHA loan, and there's four kinds of assets in this particular residential real estate model. The first is famously known as the single family home. Now, there's three other classes of assets, okay, and that's called residential multifamily. Residential multifamily is derived of when multiple dwelling units reside in one building. And a duplex is two dwelling units in one building. A triplex is three dwelling units in one building. And a fourplex is four dwelling units in one building. Now, if you go to five dwelling units, now you're trending into commercial real estate. So, because we're focusing on the middle class loophole, the main assets we're going to be focusing on, especially for the majority of my clients, are duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. Okay. And that's why I call it, that's why the other thing is I only call it the asset for all seasons. Okay. So if you're newly married without children, great. You should definitely consider purchasing multifamily property, especially how much money people are putting into their weddings. You can literally buy a building. Okay. That being said, another thing is this: friends. Okay. So now it's, with people getting harder and harder, it's getting harder and harder for a single individual to buy real estate. I think having close friends buy real estate, buying residential multifamily, is one of the best ways. I've already helped a couple clients purchase real estate. Unfortunately, one of them wanted, the other friend, the group of friends wanted to buy a house. They were adamant at buying a house. Couldn't quite persuade them. But the goal, though, is that you can use friends, okay, to purchase real estate together. But if I'm going to go in on a property with a friend, you bet it's going to be a multifamily, right? I live in one unit, they live in the other unit, and everything is right and right. If we have more than two units, then yes, we should rent them out and generate income every single month, right? Empty nesters. I think a lot of empty nesters, as soon as the kids leave the house, they sell the whole thing and all that stuff, which I understand. But now they don't have a place where everyone can come back home to, and they can do two things: they can sell that property, buy a multifamily, which I think is a great idea, or they want to rent out that other one and then go buy another building, right? Where instead of buying a townhouse or condo, they buy a multifamily property instead. I think it's great. Um, my parents, I've persuaded them to buy a multifamily. So this year, um, we're definitely going to be looking for a property for them. Next, if you're single, you just got a new job, right? You don't have any kids, you're not married. This is a great strategy for you as well. Okay, you live in one, you buy one building, you live in one unit and rent out the rest. That's what I did. My very first building was a fourplex, and that changed everything for me. So that's why I deeply believe that house hopping is so important, and this is the way that you make money every single month without getting a second job. And this is the reason why it's so important for us to learn to stop trading time for money, and instead offer value in exchange for money, because that's what the future is looking like. Okay, so the more value you can offer, the better off you're going to be. Okay, and that's why I believe residential multifamily is something that everyone needs to look at into their portfolio. And just to recap, a residential multifamily property is duplex, triplex, fourplex. Anything more than four is now we're going into commercial. Okay, so the reason why it's called the middle class loophole is because it's a specific loan designed for the middle class and allows the middle class to put a low down payment. And since the middle class doesn't have a ton of money just sitting ready at their disposal, this product empowers them to use leverage and debt to purchase an income generating asset. Whereas most investors are not willing to live on the properties that they purchase to rent out. This allows the middle class to live there for 1 year and then rent out the remainder of the units, all while putting only 3.5% down. So that's why it's called the middle class loophole, is because you're going to live on the property for 1 year. Two, FHA is backing the loan, okay? And in essence, because you're only putting 3.5% down to purchase a property, the FHA is insuring the remainder of the 16.5%, right? Conventional loans require that we put 20% down. Anything less than 20 requires mortgage insurance, and mortgage insurance is being paid out, or basically being backed, insured by FHA. You're paying the premiums every month, which is why some people don't like this strategy, but I would rather pay a premium and then acquire an income generating asset. So if you're going to use an FHA loan, don't ever use it to purchase a single family home. Use it to buy a residential multifamily property. So we're going to get into the loan, okay? And here's a perfect example as to why it's a middle class loophole. Here's the other reason. Because you're putting such small amount down, okay, you're going to be saving tens of thousands of dollars. For my first property, I paid approximately $5,880. Okay, as you could see, if I use a conventional loan, 20 to 35% down, we're thinking of $42,000 to $58,000. On my second property, we spent $7,887. And if you looked, if we did a conventional loan, we're talking around $56,000 down payment versus $78,000. So you can see by having FHA back the loan allows you to put 3%, 3.5% down. They're going to insure the remainder of the 16.5%. Okay, you're going to pay the premiums, but you're going to bake that into the rent costs. Okay, and that's going to be spread out by all the other dwelling units. That being said, you can see that one, we put a low down payment that allows us to save tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, and whenever I have someone ask me, hey, should I put more down payment down? Should I put more money down? And the answer I always say is no, because it turns that from you're removing that money, okay, and you are paying for that, you're removing that money from a future opportunity. So for instance, if I had spent more money on the down payment, that means I would be able to not have that money to put towards repairs, to capitalize a property, or to have that money at my disposal to purchase another one in the future. So I always think it's better to put less money down. That way you have that money for other opportunities, whether it's um, fix up your place or purchase another property. And my thing is, I always try to say save as much money as you can so you can use that money for the down payments. And we want to leverage as much money as we can, especially during inflationary times. So the next is the pre-qual. Okay, what do I need in order to get an FHA loan? Now keep in mind, this is very true for FHA or VA loans. If it's a VA loan, man, this is the same step, but it's going to be a lot better for VA as well. So FHA or VA are the two middle class loans that I use to empower my clients. And here is the list of things you need in order to get the loan. The loan gives you something called a pre-qualification letter. So for instance, and before you even go out to buy a property, you need something called a pre-qualification list. This pre-qualification list or pre-qualification letter is a disclosure made from the bank given to the real estate agent on your behalf, telling any and all potential sellers that you are being financially backed by a bank. So, in other words, it's basically your stamp of approval saying, hey, I'm qualified to get a loan, I'm going to get a loan, and I'm using, when I write a purchase contract for a property, it's saying, hey, I'm financially backed by a bank. I attach this pre-qualification letter with the purchase contract to submit an offer. And lo and behold, these are the steps you need in order to get that pre-qualification letter. You need current year's tax return, last year's tax return. You need current year's W-2, last year's W-2. You need last two pay stubs. You need the last two bank statements, and you need your a good credit score, and a driver's license. And I'll give this list to you later for sure. That way you have it at your disposal. But this is what I call your financial house. And this is getting your financial house in order so that you can use your bank to purchase a property. So now that's how you get the loan. The next is here is an example. Okay. There is a triplex for Salem area for $380,000. Okay, we're going to go over the numbers on okay, what does it look like to use an FHA loan to purchase a $380,000 house or triplex? What's astonishing is that these are all real numbers. Okay, the annual gross income was $51,000. The, the monthly mortgage payment was $2,111. The annual mortgage payment, so when you add all 12 months together, it came around $25,000, $232. And then annual utilities, I think it was around $3,200, but I just rounded it to $3,000 for now. And your net income, okay, was $24,268. Now, inside of the mortgage monthly payment, I want to make sure to let you know that insurance, taxes, and interest are all built into that price as well. Okay, so for utilities, we're basically talking about water, cable, and electric at this moment. Okay, now what I want you to do at this time, okay, there's this book by oh my gosh, O'Shaughnessy, and it's called What Works on Wall Street. And in essence, he basically talks about how having large cap stocks using dividend yields to generate a safe income is a great strategy, investment strategy. And since owning rental properties is very similar to this strategy, I wanted to compare if we were to do a similar strategy on Wall Street and compare it with this triplex. This is just a random triplex, okay? We're talking about, this is why I love the concept of decentralization, because we're taking this money away from Wall Street. We're not investing in Wall Street, we're investing in our local community, okay? In our local towns, in our local cities, and we're investing close to home. And this is what it looks like. In order, if we owned AT&T, which the reason why I picked AT&T is because they are heavily invested in 5G, which is going to basically is a huge it's a huge tech move for the industry, and they're going to be a big player in it. That being said, at the time, their dividend yield was 5.4%. Okay, so let's say if you had $380,000 of this triplex and $380,000 of AT&T stock with a dividend yield of 5.4%, you literally would only make $20,520. So do you see the difference? And the other thing too is the other thing with AT&T is that you need $380,000 in order to purchase $380,000 of AT&T stock or AT&T equity. Okay, that's astonishing. Whereas if we do $380,000 of the triplex, we're talking about the fraction of the cost, and you control $380,000 of equity. And that's why leverage is so important for the middle class. For a small down payment, you can control $380,000 of real estate equity versus you can't control any of the equity in AT&T. You don't know what the company is doing, where they're going. They have board meetings and stuff. At the end of the day, though, they are totally responsible for how that asset performs. Whereas in the triplex, you are responsible for how that asset performs. And I bet you I can make it perform a lot better than my competitors. So when we look at this, it makes total sense to me that I would use leverage to purchase real estate over spending $380,000 just to make 20 grand a year. It's astonishing. And these kind of investments are out there every single day. Okay? Every day. And that's that. Okay. So the moral of the story is this. Why do I care about house hopping? Okay. One of the things that's so important is that I believe, as a Christian, I deeply believe that number one, God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And number two, love your neighbor as yourself. That being said, when you invest in your community, you're taking your hard earned money, you're pulling it out of Wall Street, and you're investing in your community. Now, look at this. You have a moral responsibility, in my opinion, to invest in real estate. And here is the reason. Okay. We see here in this chart, I put the link of the source below so you can copy paste it later, but you can see the dark browns. We're saying that housing costs are appreciating faster than the rate of income. So the reason why I'm promoting house hopping is because I believe you have a moral responsibility to invest in real estate if you have the capacity to. Because one, people are going to need an affordable place to live, and two, you're going to have to you're going to be able to provide value in order to take care of your neighbors. And instead of having all these other investors come out there and become a slumlord, I'm trying to teach people how to invest in real estate to counteract slumlord culture. So that way you don't see that more and more conglomerates are getting into the apartment multifamily space. We need more middle class Americans to get into the residential multifamily space to provide homes and shelter for their neighbors. Okay. And we can see that you also have a moral responsibility for your children as well, because you can see that housing costs are going up and you're not going to be able to, most of the time, you're not going to get these fat raises year after year in order to take care of your loved ones. So if real estate is projected to keep going up, it only makes sense for you to purchase residential multifamily. So not only do you have a place to lay your head at night, but you can also provide for your neighbor. And to me, even in the face of high interest rates, this is still a huge problem. So by you getting off the bench into the game and buying residential multifamily is what I'm trying to empower the middle class to do. Okay, the jump start. The goal is this, is that you need to get your real estate agent first. Okay? And when you work with a real estate agent, at the end of the day, you are fully responsible. Okay. You're going to sign a bunch of disclosures and documents that basically state at the end of the day, no real estate agent is going to boss you around. They want to be told what to do. Okay. You are the boss. They are the employee. Now, when it comes to investing, a lot of the times, right? Um, you're going to have to understand how this works. And a lot of real estate agents don't know how it works. Does your real estate agent know anything about property management? Do they know how to find good tenants? Do they know how to screen tenants? Do they know contractors to fix things up so you're not spending overpriced money on overpriced work? Do you know basically how to do background checks? Do you know how to basically know how to rent it out? Do you know how to lease agreements? Do you know how to do you understand the Landlord Tenant Act, for instance? These are all things that you're going to have to learn, and hopefully you find a real estate agent that is on the same wavelength when it comes to this stuff. And when you think about it, it becomes overwhelming with the amount of things that can go wrong. So that's the reason why you yourself need to be trained up. It just makes life a lot easier when you have a real estate agent who goes through this process. So the other thing too is if you have a real estate agent that can't even tell you though how much a certain area of town has appreciated, that's kind of a concern, right? They should know how much things are appreciating in an area, because then they're going to be good financial stewards because they know where to put money in your town. So that being said, I myself charge $200 an hour for coaching. Okay. And I know therapists, for instance, who do cognitive behavioral therapy who are charging 150, 130, $100 an hour. Okay. So when I'm thinking about how efficient we'll be with the time to do $200 an hour, we can get a lot done quickly. But I would prefer that you don't do coaching. Okay. I actually try not to do coaching. I would rather just say, hey, listen, we're not going to pay for coaching, but what we're going to do instead is that you're going to use me as your real estate agent and I will coach you along the way. That way we just consolidate all those things into one simple fact. And the best thing about me being a real estate agent is that you don't even come up with the money up front. I don't make money until you do. And that's one of the reasons why I like being a real estate agent, because it's like I can just coach people how to do this stuff and just get paid in the back end and never have to worry about, oh man, I'm spending so much time with this client, showing all this stuff, and I'm not even getting paid for it. No, we are working on a goal together, and I'm going alongside you on this journey for you to build wealth through purchasing residential multifamily real estate. Now, the other thing is for all those that sign up, you're going to get a list of properties that are already FHA or VA approved, so we can hit the ground running. I already have a list of properties on the ready, and it automatically updates every single day, and we'll make sure that you get even text notifications on when something hits the market. And I'm telling you right now, okay, even though it our country is like not in the best place right now, I'm telling you there are investors who are still accumulating. So think about what are the things you can and cannot control, and then you look at your financial situation. Am I going to stay here in Arizona for a while, or am I going to live in this one place? If you're not from Arizona, then don't worry. I have a network of real estate agents who could help you along the way. So we can definitely figure that out as well. But for anyone who's in Arizona, especially in Central Phoenix or even in Gilbert or Tempe or anywhere in the Phoenix metro area, trust me, there's lots of opportunities and there's lots of investors who are accumulating even in the face of high interest rates. So, my goal is to encourage and empower the middle class with wealth building strategies of the rich so they can get off the bench into the game and make a difference in their life, their family's life, and their community's life. So, let's get to it. If you click the link, you're gonna see my calendar. We're gonna get you a list of properties that are currently available for these loans, and the goal is to all create life altering impact. Okay. And we're going to create life altering impact today. So set up a time with me. Let's get started. And you should definitely book a time and let's see what works and what cannot work. But I look forward to hearing from you. And thank you so much for watching this presentation. And I can't wait to hear from you.